Hi everyone, I'm Sostine and welcome to my channel. I ended up taking October and November off from video making so that I could focus on getting settled in and changing jobs, and I'm so glad that I did. But it didn't stop me from continuing to sew, and I'm excited to share what I've been working on. This is a vlog of the 6 different projects I've been working on over the past 2 months. Some of them are more complete than others, as you can see. I usually have around anywhere between 4 to 12 different projects going on, all at different stages. I do this on purpose because in this way I have different things to occupy my mind on depending on my mood. Moreover, if one project isn't going well and I'm getting a little frustrated, I could always put it to the side for the evening and pick up one of the others or start a new one. And they're all in different stages. So if I feel like drafting, I'll work on this one. If I feel like hand sewing, I'll do this one. If I feel like machine sewing, I'll do this one. And it's really nice that there's so many different things I can choose from. The big thing though, I had no projects going on in September once I finished my bee gown. To be honest, buying a house and moving into this place had been my only project for so long, I had forgotten about starting anything else. But once I got a little more settled into the house, I started to actually start sewing again, and it's been so much fun letting out a lot of creative steam. My first project in October, I decided to focus on hand embroidery with a few kits from Jenny, Aiden, Christie. Honestly, these are such a pleasure. People are like, oh my God, you do kits? They're not creative. But no, you're not necessarily creating something from scratch, but following someone else's instructions and knowing you'll end up with something beautiful is honestly reassuring to me when I'm under a lot of stress, which I honestly was with all the job and house changes. Nothing teaches me more about digitizing embroidery than doing a little bit of hand embroidery myself. If you yourself would like to learn, I would honestly recommend this hand embroidery class by Craftsy, who also happens to be today's sponsor. If you've been following me for a while, you'll know that I do all of this as a hobby. I'm completely self-taught from books, YouTube, and of course, other instructional videos. Craftsy is an online learning platform that has professionally made instructional videos from a wide variety of hobby topics, such as baking, knitting, woodworking, drawing, and papercraft, and just about anything you can think of. I think I've mentioned that I've used them in the past to learn about tailoring, but currently I'm using them to learn more about gold work, which is a more advanced type of embroidery, which I would really like to get good at because this is something you really can't mimic on the machine. What really makes Craftsy stand apart from all the others is how high quality all of these videos and instructions are. They're made to be followed step by step by actual professionals, and they're so friendly and watchable, and the sound and video quality is always top notch. So take a moment to check out Craftsy. The first 1,000 of you to click the link in the video description will get a full year of premium membership to Craftsy for only $1.49. This is valid for new members only, but this is such a great opportunity to try this incredible resource of crafts. Now back to my embroidery craft. I had first started with a little blue wren kit. I can't even begin to say how delightful it was to sew it together and how satisfying it was. Once he was done, of course, I had to make his mate, the little brown one. The fun part of this is because it's so small and portable, I just went around and brought it with me to work, and I found myself putting her together while waiting for the operating room to turn over between cases. Most recently, I got myself the Parham Owl kit, and this one is so delightful. While I had hoped to finish the owl by this video, I ended up just finishing the needle lace on the head. And this is a skill that I learned from Jenny herself in the book, because the book actually did a really great job. So if you know even just the basics, you will absolutely be able to follow this. I'm currently working on his cute little face now. I highly recommend any of her kits. Emphasize, they are not today's sponsor. I really just like showing something beautiful and really fun. So this is just something I thought you'd like to see. And that's my project number 1, which I like to do here and there. Meanwhile, speaking of little birds, I want to talk about my little bird costume, which is, of course, my costume for Belladonna. Yes, I know that was a very esoteric reference. For those of you who don't know, Little Bird is a nickname of Signa in this book called Belladonna by Adeline Grace, which is project 2. So I'm going to this romantasy ball in LA. For those of you who haven't really been following on Book Talk, romantasy is romance fantasy, and it's probably my favorite genre of books. I'm going to this ball in February with Erica Alamode, and I wanted something absolutely fabulous to wear. This book is set in vague Victorian era. Adeline Grace herself confirmed that there is no specific year. So this means anything from 1840 to 1900. In the book, it just says it's red and beautiful. So I thought this was a great time to jump on my desire to start up with the natural form era. I've been doodling quite a bit, but came up with this particular idea inspired by an actual 1878 print that I found and fell in love with. Of course, it has to be red and black. I do have the underthings for this already. I have a gorgeous corset made for me by Michelle from Clockwork Fairy. They were kind enough to do a full 1878 corset complete with glossing and spoon busk and it fits so well. The shape is perfect. Skirt support for this era can often have hoops despite being called the natural form, but oftentimes they just use a lot of good petticoats. And I do have the best petticoat ever for this era, made for me by Emily from Historic Thimble. You know it's a great petticoat because it can stand up by itself. I went ahead and used this truly Victorian pattern. Now this one does not come with a train, so I added that myself, and this is an astonishing 24 inches long. This makes sense, but Kel Beast, what a long train. It's gonna be fun. I did go ahead and make a mock-up with some cotton poplin, and sure enough, it's perfect. I had to make absolutely no changes. I will be using that as a base for the top fabric, which will be a black silk taffeta from Silk Baron, topped off with this gorgeous red moire I have. On top of the muslin, I did my usual thing for drapes, and I cut out the fabric and gathered it till it looked just the way I wanted it to look. I think this dress is going to be a lot of fun to make, and I can't wait to make more of it. Now I need to go and draft the front, the bodice, and everything else, but while I was thinking about this, I was struck with inspiration for project number 3. Around this time, I was approached by Marissa from Chicago Historical Costuming. When I moved here, we talked about collaborating together on making reticules based on a fully embroidered 18th century gown in the collection of the Chicago History Museum. I've been looking for an embroidered gown. I figured someone had done it. A lot of 18th century gowns have borders along the front and the edge, but they don't really have a fabric that they've cut into. And the fact that they actually had a gown made of actual embroidered fabric just absolutely blew me away. I will be doing a whole video just on this gown and how I want to digitize and everything. But I will say that for the museum, I did digitize the embroidery on it, and it is up for free on the museum's website. So please link that. I am also going to be posting a blog post about making the actual reticule itself with it. So I will link that below as well. Anyways, Marissa is planning an incredible 1895 costume fashion show for the Chicago History Museum and their members, and I offered to be one of the people to make a gown for this event. This event is very clever. All the people who are participating will be recreating gowns inspired by actual paper dolls from the year 1895. In particular, I chose to recreate this look, a gorgeous little capelet with a skirt with an intriguing design on it. Now, incidentally, I do already have a period capelet that's an antique, so I'm all set there. For the gown, I thought I'd use a pattern fabric of my own. This gorgeous Art Nouveau velvet that Kaz found for me online, and of course I went ahead and bought 22 yards of 10 in red, 12 in blue. But since the top is covered by the capelet, this does mean that I get to do whatever I want with it. So I decided to make something super simple so that the design of the fabric is really the star of the show. This will be January's video, and I can't wait. Here is a quick montage to know what you're getting in January. that's project number 3. Meanwhile, I felt like I needed to go back to my roots in 18th century. So for project number 4, I decided I would work on Felicity's birthday surprise next. This all happened because I happened to stumble on an embroidered apron that I thought would digitize perfectly as Felicity's. So I spent about 3 months digitizing in my off time here and there, one motif at a time. I eventually digitized the whole apron and then split it into 12 pattern parts that I could repeat to embroider my apron. For this dress, I'm using the Scoop Eliza pattern, which happens to be the same pattern I used to make my Meet Felicity dress, to make the base pink gown using some pink linen in my stash. Into too much detail for now since this gown has a finished goal of May 2025, but I am enjoying the hand sewing on this one immensely, and this is my other hand sewing project that I am doing right now. Project number 5. I got this gorgeous custom fabric that I got from Summer Sun Fabrics about a year ago. It's also on the cover of 19th Century Fashion and Detail. Initially, I was going to go for an 1880s bustle and reproduced museum, but then I saw how beautifully my friend Emily made the Angela Clayton 1881 gown, and I really wanted my own. Not to mention, I've just kind of like not been feeling bustle gowns for some reason right now, even though they used to be my favorite. So I've been fitting the McCall's pattern onto me. Just a pro tip. The pattern is much larger than expected. I cut it to my measurements and it's about 5 inches too wide. I'll go into it more when the video comes out, but I've already had to make 2 mock-ups for this one, and I'm going to be making a 3rd one, so this is a slow burn project. But knowing me, now that the mock-up is done, I might be putting this together faster and faster, because sometimes when a mock-up is like kind of emotionally challenging, I just need to go at it faster. Now for the most recent one I started. This one I'm really behind. I've literally just cut out the pattern pieces. It's time for something completely different. I have been meaning to start the Tudor period for a while, and I thought this was a good time to do so since I got this absolutely stunning fabric by Sartor. Oh my god, I'm so poor from this fabric. The plan is to use this pattern by Tudor Tailor for this gown and try a new era. So I've made the mock-up and fitted it, which I really like the way it fits. And so now I'm ready to make the mock-up for the kirtle that goes underneath. Meanwhile, I do want the underskirt and 4 sleeves to be black silk embroidered with gold pattern in this fabric, so kind of a contrast to the fabric itself. I've gone ahead and digitized this. I haven't stitched it out yet and tested it out. It's going to be a lot of like work on it since my machines have been kind of like really busy because they've been embroidering presents for friends as well as working on my Felicity apron. But it's on the queue, and I hope my lovely friends like their historical gifts. But it's awesome starting so many projects again. My hope is to do my usual of having 6 projects going all at once and working on them slowly over months and months, which is my favorite part. Tell me which one your favorite is. I'll keep you posted. The next video should be in January, and it will be more about the giant sleeve monstrosity behind me. And that is, of course, assuming that my child is not sick for 4 days in a row again. So thanks for watching. Happy holidays and happy crafting. Oh, I always get asked this. This dress is by Linen Naive. I particularly love this dress because it always makes me feel like I'm the last unicorn. Like, right? Like the buttons, the purple. Oh, I love it.